In today's video, we have several NHL news, injury, and rumor updates focusing on 5 NHL clubs, including the Pittsburgh Penguins, New Jersey Devils, Vancouver Canucks, Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Arizona Coyotes. We'll get into all the latest coming up next. So welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have several updates from around the NHL, including some news, injury updates, as well as a few new NHL rumors as well. So let's dive right in. First of all, I want to get started with the Arizona Coyotes, who unfortunately had the news that defenseman Niklas Chalmarsson will be out of action for approximately 3 months after being diagnosed with a broken fibula. So that's obviously bad news for the blue line. Obviously, they had a big trade this summer as well of picking up Phil Kessel, who just played his 1,000th NHL game. Obviously, that was going to be a big boost to their offense. But so far, the Coyotes have also been a fairly low-scoring club. So you got a big blow to their blue line. There's not scoring as much. So there's a lot of speculation that John Chayka may go out and try to make a move. They're going to have approximately $3 million in salary cap space if they're going to try to make any kind of substantial adjustments to their roster. Many believe they'll be patient with the blue line for the time being, that the lack of scoring might be the bigger concern here. Obviously, the Coyotes are a team that really came close to making the playoffs last year. Got off to a really slow start, but they had a really good second half, and we're kind of expected to pick up on that at the beginning of the 1920 NHL season. And so far, things haven't quite gone as well as they were hoping for. So having a big blow to the blue line like Chalmarsson, who's a significant piece there, is certainly not good news. And plus, you throw in the fact that they're not scoring as well. It's certainly created a lot of speculation with the Coyotes organization. So there's not quite any rumors specifically targeting who they might be looking at. So I do expect Coyotes GM John Chayka to be active and potentially make a move to pick up some scoring help up front. He could also dip into the free agent market. There certainly are some veteran players that they're still looking for work, including guys like Brian Boyle, Dion Phaneuf, Thomas Vanek, just to name a few veterans that are still remaining unsigned. Vanek, for example, might be the type of player that could help down there with some offensive output. Obviously, Dion Phaneuf's a defenseman, so if they decide to add on that part of the team, maybe a short-term, cheap contract for a player like him might be something they may look to as well. So they don't necessarily have to make a trade with all these veterans still looking for NHL work, but there certainly could be some moves coming out of the Coyotes organization. Now, with the Toronto Maple Leafs, they've decided to demote defenseman Rasmus Sandin. Sandin had been playing approximately 12 minutes per game. Actually, it didn't look too bad, really, but with Travis Dermott expected to return, that might be part of the reasoning here in sending Sandin down. And plus, they've also called up Kevin Gravel, whom very well might get an opportunity to play between Gravel, Marincin, and Hall. Not quite clear exactly what their lineup will be for their next game, but I think mostly related to that was the Dermott injury situation, because he does appear to be close to returning. He was spotted in practice today wearing a regular jersey, not a non-contact jersey, so it's obviously a positive step forward. Same as Zach Hyman, he's certainly inching closer to a return as well. So there will be some adjustments to the Leafs lineup as they get these guys back or get closer to getting these guys back. So Sandin will be gone down to the minors for right now. Not quite sure if he'll be back up this season or not, based on comments from Mike Babcock, but kind of sounds like they very well might be content to let him play a bigger role, bigger minutes down with the Marlies and remain in the AHL for all or most of the season. Oftentimes with NHL teams, if their season seems to be lost or they're not going to be making the playoffs, you usually get more of an opportunity for the youngsters, but obviously that's not something the Leafs are expecting, so it very well might be a case where he might remain down there for the remainder of the season. But I guess only time will tell, and of course you never know what's going to happen with injuries. Sometimes the roster moves are made as a necessity depending on how everything's going in that regard as well. Now, staying with the Maple Leafs here for a moment, General Manager Kyle Dubas apparently has been over in Russia doing some scouting, looking for some potential players for possibly next year. Obviously, they've had some pretty good luck with the guys they've signed that are joining the roster for the current season, and that very well might be a trend we see continue with the Maple Leafs. Dubas apparently did have a couple of meetings with some Russian players with previous NHL ties who will be unrestricted free agents after the current season, including forwards Mikhail Grigorenko and Nikita Nestorov. So not quite sure if they have any intentions of signing them. They can't get that far in the process just yet, where they're still under KHL contract. However, it is something that he's been scouting. It could be a possibility that we see them go down next year. It's a trend we've seen with the Leafs over the past few years, and some of these players have worked out, and with the success we've seen early on, at least with the current players that have joined them for this season, would not be surprised to see them continue that into the next offseason. Now, sticking with the KHL momentarily as well, one of the top prospects around the NHL is Kirill Kaprizov, and the Minnesota Wild. Has been a lot of talk about him, and it's pretty much all but assured that he will be coming over to North America and signing with the Minnesota Wild once his KHL season is completed and that contract is fulfilled. I know there was a lot of talk. Bill Guerin's supposed to be heading over to possibly meet with him, I believe, sometime in December. There's been a lot of concern that he very well could re-sign and remain in the KHL for an extended time. I know the Wild organization and their fans have been waiting for quite some time now for him to come over and join the NHL club, especially for a team who really could use an offensive boost and get some more young talent in their lineup, and he's been their top prospect now for a few years. So certainly something that they're really looking forward to getting over into North America and into their organization, but all indications right now do indicate his full intentions are to sign with the Wild at the end of the year and come over and join them for next season. Apparently, Vancouver Canucks goaltender Jacob Markstrom has been granted a personal leave of absence due to a family matter, so he will be away from the team for a short period of time. It is believed he will join them for the current upcoming road trip, which will obviously lead to Thatcher Demko getting some more enhanced playing time. Obviously, I'm not quite sure the exact situation with Markstrom, where it's a personal family matter. They haven't really released any additional information, but certainly we hope everything is well with him, and he will be away from the Canucks here for a little while. Obviously, it's a great opportunity at the same time, though, for Thatcher Demko to get some more playing time and prove that he can be a starter, as many believe he could be the goaltender of the future for the Canucks. Obviously, the New Jersey Devils are off to an incredibly slow start, so with slow starts usually comes a lot of speculation. Obviously, they started to an 0-3-2 season so far. Now, as I record this video, they're actually in the middle of an afternoon game against the Florida Panthers, and they've actually been scoring some goals today, which is a positive sign. But the Devils are a team that many thought would be greatly improved after all the moves we saw Ray Shero make this offseason. Of course, adding the number 1 overall pick in Jack Hughes, we saw them sign Wayne Simmons. They traded for PK Subban. There's a lot of different things that went on with this Devils roster that many expected to be greatly improved, and they're not getting the results here so far. So there's a lot of speculation. Could Coach John Hynes be on the hot seat? Obviously, Ray Shero typically has been a pretty patient GM in that regard in the past. However, after all these moves, you got to wonder how patient he's going to be with this team moving forward. If they don't start getting some results quickly, there very well could be some changes in that regard. And of course, the head coach is obviously sometimes easier to change than making a bunch of trades. But in regards to trades, the Devils apparently have been getting some calls on Taylor Hall, which is really no big surprise when you see a team like the Devils struggle out of the gate, have a player like Hall of his magnitude who would likely be maybe the top or one of the top free agents for the coming season if he makes it that far without signing a new contract. They're certainly getting a lot of calls just asking what their intentions and what their plans are for Taylor Hall and at what point they'd consider making a trade. I don't think it's fair to say that they've had any serious trade talks at all. At least it doesn't sound that way, but the reports we're seeing indicate that they are getting a lot of interest, teams just kind of checking in to find out. So obviously, if things don't get turned around, you can't help but wonder if Taylor Hall's camp might be a little hesitant to sign that extension, and how long will the Devils let the contract extension go on and negotiations take place before they possibly even decide, okay, enough's enough, we need to make a deal here, either sign him or trade him. It's hard to say. Some teams are more patient than others. It's really early right now, so I don't think that we're in a situation where the Devils are in a rush situation. But when you get off to such a slow start, like I said, there usually comes with a lot of speculation, and the Devils are getting a lot of calls. So we'll see if things get turned around, and at what point we might get more answers and clarity on the future of Taylor Hall with New Jersey, and if a coaching change is something that might be on a horizon or not. The Pittsburgh Penguins are a team we've talked about a lot, especially leading into the NHL season, but wanting to trade a defenseman, make some additional moves to that roster. And since the beginning of the year, now they're down 4 regular forwards, but they continued in the last 2-3 games to actually perform relatively well. They're scoring at a decent pace. They got some wins. The call-ups that they brought up from the American Hockey League have all performed relatively well, and they're doing relatively well with considering all things right now. You can't really be too impatient at this point, but there is some talk that they've inquired with the New York Islanders about the possibility of acquiring Josh Ho-Sang. Now, of course, as we know, Ho-Sang is a player who's been with the Islanders now for some time, has never really gotten a regular NHL opportunity, has a lot of skill, but seems to come with a lot of baggage and off-ice issues, which is something that he's been known for really his entire NHL career, and even before that in junior. So maybe a team like Pittsburgh might be confident they could get him on track and get everything in order to help him become a regular NHL player who can produce offensively, which is what he was expected to do when he was first drafted. So obviously Ho-Sang right now is kind of sitting out, waiting for something to happen with the Islanders for him to get traded to go to another team. And of course the Penguins are division rivals, so hard to say if the Islanders would be willing to trade him there or not. But apparently they have had talks. It's not quite clear exactly how serious everything has gone. Perhaps the Penguins would be looking to possibly move a defenseman to help facilitate that trade. Like I said, I really don't think it would take too much of a price tag to acquire Ho-Sang given his history with the Islanders, but it is a possibility of another young player with some offensive talent that the Penguins might look to add to their roster here as they battle all these injuries. Like I said, having guys like Bukestad and Malkin and Rust and Galchenyuk all injured certainly creates a little bit of a hole. But like I said, right now they're guys that they've had called up are doing the job, so we might see Jim Rutherford be patient for a little bit longer before he really pushes any moves. But I do expect him to probably trade a defenseman at some point in the season, but I think he's given the flexibility with the team winning right now that there's no need to rush, but certainly something to keep your eye on as Ho-Sang awaits a trade. So that is all your latest NHL news, injury, and rumor updates here for today. Of course, as always, we'll know your thoughts and opinions and everything discussed, so make sure you leave your comments down below in the comment section. We can discuss further. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.